Lorenzo. Welcome to All Things Armwrestling. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Man, what are we going to talk about? Because so much stuff has been going on this last week, right?
Oh, man. So first thing, I just want to make a quick shout out to Jason Vale.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Vale, rest in peace. He was a great arm wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first guys to invite me to a practice out in Queens.
How long ago was that?
This is almost 2 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Jason was he was a great guy, at least to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to send my condolences to his family and much love to Jason.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. This is amazing. Arm wrestling podcast.
Oh, yeah. Because I feel like we need to talk about this stuff just the way everyone else does, but in our own way.
Okay.
You know, because
Sure.
like I love all the stuff that's out there on YouTube.
Yeah.
I watch and listen to Neil Pickup, you know, everybody that's doing their thing.
Yeah.
But nobody named their thing All Things Arm Wrestling. And I figured, hey, let's just do it and then just talk about how our perspective here being in New York City
Yeah.
and dealing with a lot of people that we know that we pull with regularly. Let's just talk about stuff. And then we get to see what else is going on in the world. So
Awesome.
there's other matches. There's people coming back. There's all this stuff,
like
right?
the great John Brzenk.
Right. The goat is back.
Fucking ended it with a press.
I know, right?
Dude, that was like when he ended Chance Shaw with that, all I can think of, and it's funny, like it's so cliche, but all I can think of was Stallone.
Right.
And over the top, I was like, holy shit, he just fucking pulled a Stallone.
right.
He just went in and fucking, and
That's
just
exactly what it is.
fucking pressed him down.
You know, you make such a good point because number one, a lot of people probably could have seen that move coming.
Yeah.
Who know everything about John Brzenk for years, right?
Of course.
But when you talk about Over the Top,
Yeah.
and you watch clips from Over the Top,
Yeah.
you see that Stallone is doing that thing that you know he got from Brzenk, watching him, and then you see Brzenk do it, and you're like, "That is the over the top thing." He's
and
fucking,
he did it, and it wasn't slow motion because in the movie it's like you know, you
It's
see
like
Stallone's
dramatized.
face, he's like
right.
but John just fucking had him, came in and just fucking tapped him in.
Right.
Oh, it's beautiful. Chance Shaw, I mean, he put up a good fight. You know,
Yeah.
Funny enough, I was listening to Ryan Bowen give the breakdown,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell Ryan wants another rematch with him because he calls Chance Shaw a one-trick pony.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Wow.
I was like, that must have got under Chance's skin, at least if he heard it. So.
Yeah. Because what is he saying? He's saying that he's just a back pressure top roller.
Yeah, top roller.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is what it is. Chance is still a strong guy. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his size and because he pulled Ryan Bowen a year ago.
yeah.
So
I
like,
mean,
dude,
and
a lot happens in a year.
he lost though. So, I mean, it says I feel like Ryan Bowen is so underrated
Mm-hmm.
as an arm wrestler. I feel like people love to hate that guy. But I'm sorry, in a super match, I'd bet on that guy all day.
Yeah.
In a super match, I'll bet on that guy.
Dude, there's nothing wrong with hating on him too, because when I first realized what the hell arm wrestling is on YouTube,
Yeah.
Ryan Bowen was one of those guys that popped in. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He's like in a garage or in a storage locker. And all I saw is him like talking about arm wrestling.
Yeah.
And I just thought he was just some weird,
Like fucking arm wrestling nerd.
like a nerd who just wanted to talk about it forever.
I mean, that's most arm wrestlers, though. I mean, most like enthusiastic arm wrestlers, at least.
It took me a while to figure out that he also arm wrestled.
Yeah.
So actually, because I was just getting into it, I actually started listening to him more because I was like, oh, and he arm wrestles?
Yeah.
And he actually inspired me because I was like, oh, this little redheaded twerp dude could fucking arm wrestle, then I guess anybody can, you know? But now look at where he is.
He's not so little anymore.
No, now it's like
He
fucking
looks kind of beefy.
dude, in the last 2 years, he's become a different person.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty
I mean, he's you know, like we said, he beat Chance Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that guy has a lot of potential for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
So what's up, man? So what's on the agenda?
Yeah, let's talk about the 4 basic positions and attacks or defenses on the table. So, like, let's say you're starting, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know shit. And I get this a lot. Like, what do I do? You know, so the first things I like to do is like, well, what do you feel comfortable? And then you can figure out what kind of arm wrestler that person is, right? So what I'm thinking is, what are the top 4 things to tell a new person that you can do to figure out where you should be, right?
I mean, it's hard, you know, because I feel like arm wrestling, like many sports, it's a feel. You know, you have to do it, you know, in order to truly know where you're comfortable at, where you're strong at, where you're weak at. And I think in the beginning, when you're starting out, you should be, like most sports, be working on your strength. So if you feel like pronation is where you lie best at, pronate, you know, go outside. If you feel like you're more structurally sound going inside, then go inside. You know, I think sometimes having too much information can boggle someone, especially in the beginning, you know, so that's why, you know, it's good to watch arm wrestling videos and understanding like the nuances of arm wrestling, like technique. But I think the best thing for most beginners is to just get on the table and figure it out.
Yeah, because
you know
what it is.
And I feel like all the training in the fucking world is not going to help you. I mean, it's great if you can do like certain lifts. I think that's great. But I think, you know, getting on a table and pulling with people is probably the best thing you can do. And apparently that's what John Brzenk says too. So
right. So like, let's take him for example, right? So let's say you're a John Brzenk type person and you don't know it. Now, that's kind of weird because, you know, he trained with his father and all that shit. But let's say you have like the kind of gifts that he has, right?
Yeah.
And you come to the table for the first time. Instead of listening to what people are going to tell you and do all these different things, I think it's more important to feel where you're naturally going to go.
Yeah.
And then go from there to figure out what you're doing. Because what you're doing naturally may not perfectly fit in everybody's explanations. No. And that might be like the best thing about you. Like, look at John Brzenk, how weird it is. How when I first saw him arm wrestle, I was always like, I can't even really tell what he's doing. He's just winning in this very
I think that's
subtle way.
That's where the nickname "The Perfect Storm" comes from, because he just, you know, I mean, he's been arm wrestling probably longer than I've been alive,
right?
And you know, he's got more or less every technique down. You know, he's been, you know, superior in hook. He's been superior in top row. He's a great presser, as we saw with the Chance Shaw.
The finishing move.
Finishing move. So, I mean, that's, you know, someone like John Brzenk is an outlier, you know. But when it comes to, I think, again, to beginners, you know, go to your practice. You know, go to a practice, feel different hands, and try different things, you know. I mean, it's great to know that you're great doing outside arm wrestling, but, you know, find a partner in your practice who might be, you know, able to help you pull inside, or help you with your press, or, you know, help you with your cupping, or, you know, your rising strength, stuff like that. So I think that's the other thing too that we need to understand as arm wrestlers, that you know, it's unfortunate, but a lot of us come to practice to win.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm always kind of baffled when people are like, but it's like, no, you go to a competition. If you want to really beat that guy, go to a competition.
Right.
You know, really win. You know, don't win like, you know, that guy's 2 hours into a practice and then you come and you smash him. Or that guy's been training and practicing for 2 to 3 months and is sore and you haven't been doing shit, and you come in and you smash him. You know, go to a competition. If you really want to know who's the best, go to the comp. Besides that, it's just a fucking practice pull.
Right.
You know, I mean, apparently, again, there's a lot of top pullers, who will casually let you pin. They will let you pin them.
Mm-hmm.
So like practice doesn't really mean shit. I mean, it does mean something.
Right. But it's not what you think it does sometimes.
You can't consider that a win.
Mm-hmm.
As much as you may want to, you can't.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that a lot of people get wrong when they come in. That's very important that they have to understand is you're not coming into practice to win at anything.
Yeah, you're coming in to work on your weaknesses.
Right.
Work on your weaknesses and work on your strengths as well.
And learn what the fuck is happening.
Exactly.
So like when I tried to think of the 4 basic things, based on everything that you said, I'm going to put these 4 things out there and I want you to tell me what you think.
Absolutely.
So let's say you don't know shit about arm wrestling, but someone tells you, okay, if you're inside, if you're a hooker, you can do a high hook or a low hook.
Yeah.
And if you're a top roller outside, you could do a low top roll, right? A low hand top roll.
Low hand top roll, yeah.
And then what would be the high?
I guess it's like
just a regular top roll, right?
Top roll, yeah.
So then to me, like those are really basic things,
Yeah.
right? And then maybe that would kind of explain to people, because a lot of people come in, they're just like, what? That's way too much information. Those 4 things alone could boggle someone's mind, right?
Exactly.
So to me, those might be the most basic things where you're like, okay. But then once you go on the table, you try any of those things, there's so much more in there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You can't even bother explaining. You're just like, well, just feel it out. And then like a lot of people say, when you're practicing with your opponent, you got to feel the pressures.
Yeah.
And we're learning when we're not talking. It's about feeling it, right? So we could sit here and talk on mics all we want, and it's not going to really do much.
Well, that's
right?
the thing, though. It's just like we could say, you come in, you place your elbow on the pad. If you keep your arm inside your body. Always keep your eye on your hand. Cup. Pronate, all that stuff is very easy to say, but again, to a beginner, look up your local practice. It's super fucking easy too. You go online.
Right.
Now you have
internet.
arm bet. When people are like, it's always like it's kind of funny now when people say like, oh, like where's the practice? I'm like, well, have you been looking? I mean, granted, I think I'm being kind of an asshole right now, but it's always surprising when people are like, oh, where's there a practice? I'm like, well, there's arm bet.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I
look at people's names and see the description, because I know in my description I have like, I don't have it anymore, but when I was living in Sunset Park, I was telling people, hey, I have a practice on Thursdays. Come by. I know you had the same thing on your arm bet thing.
Still do, yeah.
It's just a matter of people just, excuse me, it's a matter of people just coming and actually wanting to arm wrestle. I think that's the other thing too, is that, I mean, I'm kind of going off subject right now, but I feel like there's a fear of competition out there sometimes, and it's just a fucking practice, guys.
Right. There's no competition.
There's no competition. Just come to the fucking practice. Like I sometimes I see guys talking about the types of training that they're doing, this, that, and the other. I'm just like, I never see you at a fucking practice though.
Yeah. That's why.
Like, come to a fucking practice. All that training, like give me, like, put that training to use.
Yeah. Unless you're unless you understand everything on the table, you just are weak.
Yeah.
Okay.
So please, if you're trying to arm wrestle, come arm wrestle. Yeah. Don't arm wrestle the fucking cable machine or the dumbbells or the kettlebells or the barbells. Come arm wrestle another fucking human being, please.
Well, let me ask you a different question.
Yeah.
Having been in arm wrestling for as long as you have,
which is 2 years.
Yeah, so 2 years.
2.5, maybe.
And consistently. So it's like it's on your mind all the time.
Yeah.
And seeing how it's gaining popularity during this time, how we're both in it, for whatever reason, right? Where do you see the future of this?
I don't know.
Where the fuck is this thing going?
I think arm wrestling is one of those sports where it's like it comes into existence and then it comes out of existence.
Yeah, right.
It's very strange because I've seen, arm wrestling on the worldwide sports, which was huge. It was huge. It was like NBC or ABC or something like that.
Right.
It was huge. And then it just disappeared.
And then
it was on ESPN one time.
Right.
And then it was kind of, big then, and then it disappeared. And now it was on I think now you have WAL, which is on Bleacher Report, which is there, but not really. Right. I don't really. I think the fate of the sport lies in arm wrestlers' hands right now. I think it's people who are elite to promote this sport. Like the Devin Loratz, which he's doing it. He created Armbed. He is always creating content. Just finished his super match and beat Michael Todd. You have, guys like Chance Shaw, who are, up and coming heavyweights in the United States. You have John Brzenk, who's coming back. So I think the fate of arm wrestling lies in literally arm wrestlers' hands. Because it's one of those sports that it's very niche. Whenever I tell people that I'm an arm wrestler or I arm wrestle, they go, huh? That's an act, that's a sport, and
it's mostly confusion or what are you talking about?
And the funny part is that arm wrestling has been around for it seems like almost thousands of years, hundreds of years.
Yeah, when didn't people arm wrestle?
There's a story of Hercules arm wrestling someone, so how long ago was that fucking story?
Right.
I don't think it was until the 1950s or 60s that it got really popular, at least mainstream. But yeah, I think we're on the right path right now. With social media, with personalities like Larry Wheels. I think we're in the right direction. And
how much do you think Alex and Schoolboy have contributed to this whole thing?
Oh, tremendously. Tremendously. Alex Topral, he's constantly putting out content. Always promoting the sport. Great guy. I've met him. I can't say I know him, but I've hung around him. And great ambassador to the sport. And if we can get more guys like him, I think eventually 5, 10, maybe 15 years down the line, I think you could potentially see arm wrestling quite possibly in the Olympics. You see sports like 3-on-3 basketball now and skateboarding are in the Olympics, and seeing that I can totally see arm wrestling being a mainstream sport, in the coming years.
Well, since I just want to diverge right off of that topic into something that might have something to do with that. So Devin and Freedom arm wrestling. Do you think that's going to help? The reason why I ask it that way is, do you think it's kind of strange and interesting how many young kids are so excited to get into this? And then the fact that you could do it, let's say, in the streets.
To me, Freedom arm wrestling is like 3-on-3 basketball. I think having that option is great. But in order for arm wrestling to be considered a true, to be considered sincerely by people, serious, I think the current status quo, meaning the table setup, the rules, I think that's the way to go.
So the pads, the pegs, all that. So
absolutely.
What about Japanese arm sumo? Because that,
again,
It's just like freedom, right?
I think that is a great alternative, you know, but in order for arm wrestling to be picked up as a legitimate sport, we need to legitimize what we have, which is the current status quo of the table, which is the rules. You know, we have to have that. You know, if we don't have that, then the sport will never be, I don't think will ever be taken seriously by the public.
And how do you feel about the strap? Have we evolved to where the strap needs to be and it works and that's a perfect solution?
I think it's great. You know, I think, you know, that will continue to evolve. You know, I think that'll definitely, I mean, when you look at arm wrestling back in the day, I mean, there was a donut in the middle and guys had their elbow in the, you know, middle. It wasn't considered arm wrestling. I think it was considered like wrist wrestling or something like that. So I think the sport will continue to evolve, you know, because I mean, it has to happen. I mean, we have technology that can create things. I mean, I'm sure there's a fucking nerd, like someone like Chainsaw in their basement, like 3D scanning a certain strap that'll create symmetry and equal tightness on both sides of the hand. So the person with the buckle isn't in a disadvantaged position. So, you know, there's something happening. People are coming up with shit. People are thinking, and I think with the coming years, a sport like arm wrestling will continue to evolve.
And the beauty of being in it for 2 to 3 years plus, or like Ryan Bowen and people like Derek Smith, they're in there for 7 years, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have to put that time in for when the shit launches, and you've already got all that, and you're there while it's happening, kind of, right? Is that how you feel? Where like you get these 2 years in, so that 5 years from now, who knows what the fuck you're just.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I've always been an advocate of the long game. I mean, the funny part is that I've been arm wrestling like 2.5, maybe 3 years, and there's guys who like started, you know, they're like 9 months in and they smoke me, you know, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's the beautiful part about this sport is that, you know, it's a strength sport. So, you know,
it's funny that you say it that way. I love that you say it that way because the biggest problem that I see with newbies that come and go is that you could see it in their face where they're like, oh, fuck, I quit. You know what I mean?
Good.
Right.
Quit.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Because that's any sport.
Yeah.
That's any and every sport. And unless you put the time and dedication and you know, like, I am doing my very best to be good at this, then that's fine. But if you're coming in thinking like, oh, I'm strong. Yeah, you're strong. Oh, yeah, I won, you know, when I was in my 10th grade cafeteria. It's like, yeah, but now this is legitimate.
Yeah, if you're going to still talk arm wrestling.
And now you have to put in work.
Yeah.
It's called work.
Yeah, let's see what you're really made of, right?
So, you know, and the thing too is it's not just work, it's like passion. You know, just because you lose, like I think that's the other thing about, I don't know if it's like this time, this era that we live in, but there's something about losing that people hate. Like,
so hard to deal with it.
It's like I was telling something. I was like, you know what I love about competing? What I've noticed, what I love about that I lose. Because I can deal with it. And what I've noticed is how little people can deal with loss. And that's why competing is so crucial. I think it's so crucial in someone's life. Is because I think you need that feeling of like, oh, I suck.
Mm-hmm. I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Exactly. You know, and people that they you know, they might try it out and they leave. Good. Because all you're telling me is that you're a loser.
You weren't cut out for this.
You weren't cut out for it.
Right.
You know, I know that sounds, I say that playful. I say that with a lot of humor behind it, you know, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, I think of that as like, that's how inspiration works. It's like, well, what side are you going to be on?
Yeah.
The motherfucker that doesn't ever come back and doesn't do it again and cries about it?
Exactly.
Or the motherfucker that just keeps on doing it?
Keeps on coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, all right, I lost. I'll lose again. Eventually I'll win.
Yeah.
Eventually I'll win. If I have to wait 3 hours in order for your ass to be tired.
Yeah. And find your spot. Like, where are you? Because, you know, where you are is always changing.
Exactly.
And just fucking find it, you know?
Yeah.
So the other topic I want to talk about is, so you're arm wrestling, you got passion for it, you're doing it, your body fucking hurts. How do you deal with this?
It's arm wrestling. You just got to deal with it.
Is there anything as painful as fucking arm wrestling?
I've competed in martial arts. I've rock climbed. I've done, you know, I consider myself a sportsman. I love playing sports. I love challenging my body. There's nothing as painful as starting out and going to practice and practicing for like 2 hours. And there's this immense, fucking unthinkable pain that goes on in your fucking limbs. And you're just like, I think I fucked something up.
Right. Because what is this? You know what? I tell people, because I haven't heard anyone else say this.
Yeah.
I had this guy, Constantine, part of our recent awesome group. Constantine comes through.
I love that guy.
And right. And he's like got such passion for it, but his body just won't let him.
And I love it.
And I tell him, like, look, I said, don't worry about it. That's how it's supposed to be. He's like, really? I said,
really?
Yeah. I said, do you really want to know what it feels like to me? Because I didn't tell you yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, what? I said, when I'm done training after these 2 hours, I swear to God for 3 days that I have bone cancer in my arms. And he's like, what?
Yeah,
I was like, yes.
Like, I think I did something to my bones.
But on after the third day, it goes away. So I know it's not.
Exactly.
So I keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a shitload of things you can do. There's, I always tell people self-massage. You know, massage your arms
with your own hands and stuff.
Own hands, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're an arm wrestler, you probably have pretty strong hands. So, you know, dig into those muscles, or you know, get your girlfriend or boyfriend to massage your arms. You know, the other thing is, you know, take a warm bath, Epsom salt baths. You know, relax the muscles. If you're looking for a painkiller, I always tell people go aspirin. Take aspirin.
It hurts so bad that you got to take something. So aspirin.
Go with aspirin. It's more natural on the body, and all you really need at that moment is just blood flow. That's all you're looking for. You're looking for something to help the blood flow.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
I think aspirin, you know, ibuprofens. I mean, unless you can get that crazy fucking ibuprofen that they get from fucking Germany that doesn't destroy your gut. Then, you know, you can get that. But I always tell people go with aspirin. There's other things out there. There's, I think turmeric. Turmeric is pretty good. Helps with inflammation.
What I learned with turmeric is you have to cut it with pepper.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's not really good.
Well, a lot of the supplements out now kind of are in the know. So you'll have like that turmeric blend, curcumin, and then they'll have like a little bit of black pepper in there, other shit. So... Another thing that everyone talks about is Tiger Balm, right? Tiger Balm, that doesn't work.
It doesn't seem to do anything.
It doesn't do anything.
You know what it feels like? It feels like the fact that I'm rubbing it in is the thing that does it, right?
It's a fucked up placebo effect. If you want something that really works, get CBD oil.
Right.
Get a good extra strength CBD ointment. I get one from like my local like hemp shop or CBD place. There's like one in like Park Slope that I used to go to, but they're a little pricey, but they fucking work.
They work, right?
They work. If you want to go to the natural, I think that's good. If you're looking for something a little stronger, I forgot there's like a fucking Germans make all this like really strong fucking pain relieving things.
They're so serious.
I know, right? This works. Yes. But yes, I think I use like an extra strength like CBD ointment. So yeah.
And then for the people that are afraid after their first time,
yeah,
because sometimes people are sore for an entire week, 2 weeks, right?
yeah.
But like what I notice after doing it regularly, it's okay for me to be sore for 48 hours to 72 hours, depending upon how long you do it.
Yeah.
So you just deal with it, right? I mean, it's like
I mean, I think anyone who arm wrestles, they're is it masochist or sadist? What's
a little bit of both, right?
Yeah. So we both like to give pain and take pain. I think for the most of us. So yeah, you just fucking deal with the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's the mentality going behind. I mean, that's just arm wrestling. You know, it's like people are like, oh man, like my elbow hurts. And then it's like, yeah, that guy elbow, his hurts. Everyone's elbow hurts.
Yeah, right.
Everyone's wrist hurts. You know, so it's just like, you deal with it.
Yeah. Do you notice that? I didn't really know this before, but in my first 3 months of doing it, all of our elbows hurt right in here like fire.
Oh, yeah.
But what I noticed is people always talk about how when you first start and you don't know anything, and the first thing you do is this movement.
Oh, yeah.
So you're flexing, and then you're just doing this movement. Apparently that pushing side pressure thing is exactly what's going to inflame this whole thing. So don't do it like cafeteria style, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I mean, if you do that or if you don't do that, your elbow's going to hurt. Yeah. Your elbow might hurt just maybe a little bit more if you do it like that.
Right.
But I mean, you do anything on a high level, it's going to hurt. You know, if you bodybuild too hard, your muscles are hurt. You know, anything you do to a certain level, it's going to inflict some sort of pain.
So let me end it on this little thing, because you're the perfect person to ask. So one of the reasons why I want to do this thing is because I feel like arm wrestling is kind of exploding the last couple of years. And a lot of people are coming into arm wrestling from like a non-arm wrestling health and fitness thing. They find it through people like Larry Wheels and Juji and Devin by accident and all these people. Yeah. There's power lifters that are doing it, and then they find arm wrestling through YouTube. So my question that I think a lot of people struggle with is, how do you balance between the gym stuff and the arm wrestling stuff? And is there a balance, or like, what do you do?
I mean, so
can you overdo it?
Yeah, of course. It just depends on where you want to take your arm wrestling. You know, if you just want to be like casual arm wrestler who like goes to a practice every once in a while, then, maybe training, specifically for arm wrestling may not be for you. Maybe just training maybe once a week, but I think if you're bit more serious,
because I've never competed. You've been in tournaments.
Yeah.
So for the people like who want to be in a tournament, there's no ifs, ands, or buts that splits you apart from that person, right?
Well, again, so like what I do is I have, I do like a arm wrestling. I have like an arm wrestling program. So I have like a day that, I have like 3 days more or less out of the week where I do arm wrestling specific training. But on top of that arm wrestling specific training, I also do like bodybuilding, so like I work like, I work my chest, I work my back, I work like my legs, so it's like, and the thing with me is like, I'm not like a lazy person. So like,
Does that
just
translate
because-
as you have lots of energy?
Well, it translates to like, yeah, I love arm wrestling and I want to be strong at arm wrestling, but I also love the rest of my body. So I'm going to squat, I'm going to deadlift, I'm going to bench, I'm going to overhead press. I'm probably not going to lift as much as I want to, but I still want to be strong. You know, so I tell, you know, I'll, my thing to people who want to get into arm wrestling and want to train in arm wrestling, don't forget your other lifts. Granted, you may not be strong in those lifts, if you're doing your arm wrestling, you're like, if you're going to your practices.
So don't be discouraged by the lack of the strength. Seemingly.
Yeah, you just fucking, you got to grind it out. You know, I think, what's his name? Top Roll King. Russian dude, Artem. Yeah, he actually had a good podcast where he was talking about training and how he got to a point where he was like, just because I did a practice and I'm sore doesn't mean I'm not going to train the next day. I just won't train as hard. You know, and I think that's what people need to understand is like, yeah, you may be sort of like, I feel pretty wrecked because I trained Thursday and I went to a practice Thursday and I went to a practice on Sunday. So I feel pretty wrecked, but I'm still going to
do something.
Yeah. You know, I'm still going to work some pronation. I'm still going to work maybe some cup. You know, maybe my lifts might not be as high, but I'm still going to do it. You know, and there's always, you know, you always have to rest. Of course, you always have to rest, but don't stop training because you're sore. Yeah. You know, don't stop training because, you know, unless you're injured, then I understand. But
right. You're not injured. You're sore. It hurts. Your numbers go down in the gym. Don't stop.
Just don't stop.
Yeah.
You know, and I think maybe that's counter to maybe what most people, I don't know, maybe I have it wrong, you know, because I haven't been arm wrestling that long. But I mean, someone like Artem, you know, that guy's been arm wrestling for a long time, you know, and, you know, when I heard him say that, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. You know, I mean, if you want to be good at anything, you know, you got to continue doing it, you know? So, you know, again, some people are just naturals too. You know, some people don't have to fucking train, which is, you know, that's good for them. You know, for someone like me, I gotta train. You know, I'm not as naturally strong as most people. So for me, like, you know, it's important to work certain lifts, you know, so yeah.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you because I'm way weaker than you. And I come in from this going, I was born weak and I'm not strong at anything. So I know I got to train too. So it's like, yeah. Well, I think that'll clear up a lot of things for our new guys. And thank you. Thank you for coming here.
Dude,
and
thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on All Things Arm Wrestling.